this player that I had the other day, it was like he was shocked that his golf ball wasn't coming off the center of the club flush every shot. All right.
Yeah, that's me too.
Hello and welcome to the Caddie Tales Podcast. I'm Mark the Caddie, joined as always by my sidekick, colleague, friend, and fellow looper, Nick. We're excited to talk to you about how the beautiful game of golf and life intersect so well. We can learn lessons in both arenas that help us to grow as golfers, for sure, and also hopefully as people. We are brought to you, as always, by our friends at Zero Restriction Golf. Check them out. We talk a lot about the weather here in the early season. It's important to be taken care of, and Zero Restriction does a great job with your rain gear needs and other awesome swag. Use the promo code BESTBALL20 and you'll get hooked up with a nice discount as well. So you'll look good and feel good, swing well. It's a great opportunity for you guys, so take advantage of it. All right, Nick. I know we talk about the weather a lot, but we actually have had a string of
Good
nice days,
yeah.
including
Sure.
Sunday and Monday for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Monday was as good as it gets, so let's go.
Yeah.
Season has arrived.
Yeah, for sure. I was able to get out and play a little bit yesterday for training, and it went very poorly, and pulled a muscle in my back, so that's not great. But and I'll be avoiding golf with you guys tomorrow, which angers you guys, unfortunately. But
So yeah, a little context for our listeners out there. There's a good caddy friend of ours, Pete, who's trying to get a group of us to play together tomorrow. And you can tell that, like, he's got his hopes and dreams staked on it.
yeah,
And then we have our young little sidekick, our protege, who looks up to you more than anyone, Nick. He wants you there. And then I said, I'm not going unless you're going. And guess what? You're ruining the whole day for everybody. So,
this is quite the guilt trip.
like right now, I can just see a flurry of group texts coming because a caddy like you is avoiding golf. Great for the brand. Great for the brand, they would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I digress. It actually is going to be a really crummy day. So, there's like a great few days, tomorrow rainy, and then we get back to great few days. So, all right. Today, I want to talk about something that, we kind of talk about on the, periphery every week. But I want to delve into it a little bit more today and talk about the redemptive power of golf, the redemption story, if you will. And this came to mind because there's a new show coming out, golf related, called Stick. All right. And before we dissect that show, Nick, what's your favorite sports movie or show?
Ooh, I think movie. I don't know. I think Rudy probably comes to mind pretty quick, but I'm actually not a big fan of Notre Dame, so I'd still say Rudy. I like that one.
Yeah. Rudy was probably mine for a lot of life, but you learn so much of that story's really not true.
Right. Yeah.
I would say that if I had to pick, it's probably Hoosiers or Miracle.
Okay.
There's a couple other ones, but there's other ones I love. Like, no, there's other ones like that are slept on. McFarland USA. It's about cross country runners out in like the fields of California back in the day, and it's really quite a good movie. But it's the kind of movie that we have found as a family. Those are the movies we want to watch together. All right. And they all have this common link, and that is the redemptive nature of sport. The somebody's going through some sort of trial, whether it's a self-inflicted one or a circumstantial one that's been out of their power. There's a low point, there's a crash, but they have these hopes and dreams, and then the power of sport, brings them out of that. And this show Stick is really, predicated on that. And I think people, even without knowing, that this show was coming out, because I didn't even realize it, but it's coming out June 4th. It's about a guy they called Stick. And from what I can tell, former golfer, sounds like he melted down on the course one day. because golf will do that to you, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I've done it numerous times.
Yeah. So a self-inflicted wound, his career goes off the rails, but now there's a young golfer that I guess he takes under his wing, and that is going to, catapult him back to his former glory, or, just redeem his life in a way that, he had been missing. And so I love stories like that. I don't know if it's going to be cinematically good. It looked like it was maybe a little bit hokey.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson is the star. And I don't know if like the cinematography or the script or all that's going to be good, but the basic storyline is one we like. And, so I think that's really cool. And it got me thinking too, for all golfers that golf regularly, especially then high handicappers or people who have a bad round, what's something they experience during a round, usually, hopefully toward the end, as a pick-me-up, they've been shanking it all over the place, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they hit something flush and beautiful and right where it needs to be, or it's some sort of other shot, and we call that the shot that keeps you coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you witness the mood change in a loop with the shot that keeps you coming back, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, it goes from like here to like here real quick. I mean, I literally witnessed it happen today on hole 13. My guy hit a perfect drive right down the middle, hits his second shot, pulls it a little left into this, greenside bunker that's kind of nasty. It kind of just sucks all the balls down there. And then hits a terrible bunker shot, and it goes like 2 feet, and now he's down in this little drain with like an impossible putt. It goes uphill and then straight down, and he made the putt for par. And like, it was a magical moment. I got goosebumps actually from it. Yeah. And like, I gave him the read, and he's like, that was like a perfect read. And one guy threw his club up in the air, like, and we were all just like screaming like crazy. So it just was crazy. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And not as dramatic, but I had some really nice guys today. Like I said, I didn't know that I didn't remember that I had them last year. Eventually caught onto it, but they're there entertaining clients. Okay. And so it's really not set up to be the most fun round, because they're there on business, and I didn't get the impression that they were like super close personally with these clients. It was more like, hey, they buy a lot of stuff from us, and so we've got to take them out, kind of thing. Yeah. And anyway, the first hole was a nightmare. And I remembered because they were joking, the two guys who I carried for, who were the two guys who worked together, the two guys who were hosting. One of the guys who they were hosting today was there last year. And so they are reminiscing about how difficult of a bag that was to carry, because he was really, really high score, but he really wanted information galore on every shot. So it's slow play for
Tough
sure.
combo.
And I was a little nervous today because we had a newer caddy, and I was like, how do we, keep things moving and stuff. So, and the first hole did not have me feeling good. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, I don't know what everybody shot. Everybody took 2 shots off the first tee. I don't think anybody hit a fairway. I mean, 2 lost balls, all this. It just terrible. 8s to 10s to 12s all around. All right. It was not great. But then we get up to the second tee box, par 5, and one of the guys just absolutely crushes it. All right. Down the middle. And I just love it, because you're like, one hole does not have to define the next hole. It's that whole next shot mentality that we always talk about. The other guy, what was crazy about that was we didn't think we could find it. And we're like, what the heck? I'm like totally stressing out, anxious. Like, we just blew up a hole, and now I can't find his ball that he just hit down the middle. It actually fell down a sprinkler head. Yeah. And you're like, oh, that was pretty cool. But anyway, the other guy hit one just off the fairway, and then he gets up, and he didn't do this when we're 200 yards out or whatever, and he just puts it up on the green. And so both of them go from terrible first hole to good second hole. And that's sports. You can get up. You can it's a metaphor for life, we don't have to stay stuck in the junk. All right. So that's what this show is going to bring about. I think that the thing that gets me, though, is why are we so prone in life, but certainly in golf, I see it all the time. Why is the natural inclination one to negativity?
I don't know. I guess we just want something to complain about, I guess,
Yeah, I mean, it's human nature. I mean, there's actually deep, spiritual, philosophical reasons for why that's true.
Yeah.
But, it's human nature, and we are inclined toward the negative. And I thought it was interesting because today, you find out this guy you caddied for last year, he probably learned about my Twitter handle, has been following me. And we're talking, and he's like, I just appreciate that you keep it positive. And I said, listen, it's genuine. It really is something that I work on every day. Like, I'm really trying to train myself. And even when I don't feel like it, that's sometimes when I'll really try to post something positive because I'm trying to, I don't know if trick my mind's the right way, but certainly rewire how I'm looking at stuff. And so I said, it's deeply sincere. It is absolutely. But I said, it's also kind of become a little niche. And it's because there's so much negativity. It's such a cesspool that the people who aren't doing that are the ones who actually stand out. And I thought that was a really, really interesting thing, that he said that. And I'm like, this is who I want to be. But the fact that he's kind of saying, I don't see that many other places. And certainly there's plenty of positive people on Twitter, but they're not the ones necessarily posting with big accounts. A lot of the people, though, in the replies and comments and all that, they're just, it's crazy. You read it and you feel like a worse person. You feel like the civilization's going to come to an end. So we're prone to the negative.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't really understand that side of social media, but I want to give an example of how you're so positive. Like, we have this seventh hole, and people hit it up left on the left side, and it looks like they're just dead to rights. And Mark will always say, a lot up and downs from there.
A lot of pars from up there.
A lot of pars from there. And then
and they all look at you like you're high or whatever.
Or they'll like laugh it off or whatever. And like, I don't know, maybe like 75% of the time, I feel like whenever I'm with you, it happens. And so maybe there's something.
It happens a lot, or it's at least close enough to validate the sentiment. Yeah, absolutely. And because I'm like, let's just move on, But here's the thing. The other day I was with a group and I just paid attention. They were asked numerous times by cart girls, players' assistants, whatever. Well, how's it going? Every single time, the comment was negative.
Really?
And gloomy. And a lot of times it's joking, to be fair. Just kind of like we have for those of you listening, as we walk to our 10th hole, there's a sign up, that says golfers only beyond this point. And so every day we got a fake laugh when somebody's like, oh, go, yuck. It says no golfers beyond that. I guess I got to stop here. But like, people are prone to thinking negatively, gloomy about their game. And I was caddying for a doctor the other day. Nice guy, very nice guy, actually, and he was very appreciative. And he was an okay player. Like, you're talking 12 handicap, and his 12 handicap was probably an honest 12 handicap, But like when you're a 12 handicap, you hit some really good ones, you hit some that aren't. And I said to him at one point, and this was like earth shattering to him. All right. I said, you got to give yourself some grace here. I said, so we were on the 6th hole and the ball faded off the fairway to the right. All right. Like 5 yards. And it's just down on a hill. It ended up being just fine, actually. But, he's like totally upset as we're walking to the ball. And I said, listen, there's so many other golf courses in America that you would be playing today and hit that shot, and it wouldn't even given a second thought that it's a bad shot. So one, change your perspective. But two, now we've got a better angle to where the flag is. So let's look on the bright side and put it up there.
Yeah.
Because there's a next shot. And he's like, that kind of blew his mind. And then I think when we were at the turn window, I said, you're doing great, but like, you also have this really hard career, and you have a family, 4 kids, I think he told me he had.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have to get rid of all of that if you want to not, miss some shots. Yeah,
if you want to
pick your poison. If you want to not have any of these inconsistent ones, say goodbye to the hospital and your family, because that's what it's going to take. And so right now, what's the worst thing that's happening is that you're, having a great. I mean, yesterday was gorgeous out there, gorgeous. Top 5 day it's going to be this year weather-wise. And I'm like, so you're having a great day with your friends? There's worse things in the world. I didn't lecture them on that or anything, but that's what I'm thinking. So, people, whine about their shots, and that's just their natural inclination. And they tend to think that a lot of times the mindset is the future is not bright. All right. And so then what what I'm thinking about this week was, here's a couple of things that happened here. One, our horrible spring that we've been lamenting on this podcast for a few weeks.
Yep. Sure.
Gave way to Sunday and Monday. We're out there in no wind. The sun is shining. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see we're already getting tan and red and all that. So, it was so peaceful and it was almost eerie at one point because the waves weren't crashing or anything. But winter gives way to spring. Spring's going to give way to summer. It happens. It's a natural cycle. There's beautiful rebirth. There's growth. And then I had a player this week who shot 60 on the front 9. All right. So that's not great. People want to do better than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're comfortable with that number, right?
Right now I am, yeah.
Yeah, right. But he shot 40 on the back.
Oh, that's a nice comeback, yeah.
I mean, come on.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I mean, it's like sometimes your worst moments set up your best moments. Like, I think if you hit a bad shot, sometimes your best shots are set up by your worst shots. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of philosophical, but I feel like it's true also.
Yeah. I think that it's just such an important life skill that we can really practice on the golf course, that in the moment when things feel bleak, we have to still try to find a way to believe the future is bright. So I talk on the edges about my past, and I don't like to talk specifically about it because it hurts, and there's a lot of shame and scars and all of that. And also it's like you feel like then you get into a defending yourself game because there's things that are true, but then there's things that aren't quite, and it's like, do I really need the people who care, or the people, there's going to be people in your life who you don't have to explain yourself to.
Yeah.
And the ones that are out there that aren't on your side, it doesn't matter if you explain yourself to them. They're going to just still think what they think. So you just kind of have to move on. But, I have that in my rear view mirror. And I can tell you, you're laying there in bed some days just not wanting to get up. Because, it's not just because you have consequences from bad decisions. It's not just because you're scared, about it's because the not knowing an outcome or not realizing that outcome yet will often paralyze you. And so then also what happens is you start running around in your head all these things that are going to be negative. And it blows up, you get anxiety, all right? And I think that practicing the skill of believing the future is going to be bright, that there's hope, even when it doesn't look like it, will change your life, most importantly, but it can change your golf game. And I think that's what our listeners are tuning in here for. And so, we've got this show coming out, Stick. If you were to, kind of share this message and write a screenplay or something about a caddy, Nick, how would it look?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, for me personally, it'd probably be like a caddy that, goes out all the time, has a lot of fun, but maybe gets in some trouble and then tries to kind of redeem himself and come back and try to make things right, I guess. That'd probably be
I mean,
how I'd
and
write
how
it.
many caddies could we base the lead character on for that?
It's a popular story for sure, yeah. I don't know if they're all trying to come back, but, hopefully eventually.
Here's another thing related to that, what you just said. Okay, caddies get in trouble. We're kind of unfazed by it, when we hear some of these stories. Maybe to a little bit of a negative. But in life, we shouldn't be shocked by some of the bad outcomes. Like, sometimes, like this player that I had the other day, it was like he was shocked that his golf ball wasn't coming off the center of the club flush every shot. All right.
Yeah, that's me too.
And right? Yeah. How many people are like that? It's like there's this shock and all. Should we really be shocked by that?
No, yeah, you're not a professional golfer, yeah.
Should we be shocked when there's something bad that happens out on the golf course? Absolutely not. Should we be shocked when there are bad things that happen in life? No. And even self-inflicted. We have to believe we are capable of great distress and evil. We are as people. And yet, at the same time, I think most of the people who look at that kind of narrative in this world stop there. And they say, okay, there's the shanked golf shot. That's how I'm going to see that player. They say, oh, there's the caddy who got himself into trouble driving home. That's how I'm going to see the caddy. Oh, there's the politician or the teacher or the whomever that I saw on television getting in trouble. That's how I'm going to choose to see him. We shouldn't be shocked. People are all like shocked and appalled and all this stuff. I'm like, there's very little in life that you could tell me that would actually surprise me or shock me. And certainly your golf game isn't going to be one of those things. People come up to the first tee and act like, I mean, what do they think we've never seen this before? Yeah,
they'll be like a 15 handicap and think they're like the worst player we've ever seen. It's like not even close. Like, not even the same planet.
Yeah. And it's like, so they think, oh my gosh, you're going to be shocked. No, not at all. And so, that right there, I think helps me to understand, because I also then know that the story doesn't stop there. See, I think that's something that my life's story has given me, is the reminder or the narrative that it doesn't have to stop there, that there's hope and a future. All right. Yeah. There's hope and opportunity. And I actually wouldn't enjoy as much of my life right now if I hadn't had that stuff in the rearview mirror. Just like I think maybe you don't enjoy the flushed 220-yard approach shot that you tuck to the pin if you haven't shanked something earlier in the round. Yeah. I mean, if that's all you do you really appreciate it?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's the bad shots that make you appreciate the good shots. It's the bad weather days that make us appreciate the good weather days, right? So, yeah.
I mean, even guys like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods had to manufacture their misery so that they could appreciate and go towards their redemption.
Yeah, for sure.
And so like, now what we have to do is start really spreading that message when we're caddying for people, because I just don't think it's a place you're supposed to be unhappy. And I see it sometimes from people that I'm like, you just spent all this. Are you having fun? Let's kind of believe that there's something good out there, and it might not even be that round. You like to think that you're going to see it turn around that round, but it'll certainly happen in the future. That kind of, I'm going to segue a little bit to good caddy, bad caddy, and because I think this is it kind of goes along with this. My good caddy moment for the week is really around when we sell players. You may not be the worst. You're not going to be the worst player I've ever seen. I mean, there does have to be a baseline for who the worst player you've ever seen is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I might have seen that player recently. All right. And so I'm out on a loop that is tough golf. tough golf. And I don't want to say too much, except for to say, like, if we would have hit every shot, it would have been over 7 hours, over 300 strokes.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, that's not an exaggeration. We would have had over 300. People say, oh, why? You know, they had fun. And we had fun. And I think what I like about my ability to do my job is that I think I was the right caddy to get sent up with them that day. I think there's a lot of caddies who would have really struggled getting through the round.
Thought about quitting, yeah.
I mean, I didn't love it per se. I mean, there was parts where I'm like, oh my gosh, we just need to pick this ball up. But I think that I was able to keep my patience.
Yeah, you're good at that.
And I was able to keep an encouraging tone the whole time and not be condescending.
Yeah.
You know, and the reality is if they kept up pace of play, which they did.
Yeah.
And if they had fun, which they did, do we really want to be such golf elitists that, you know, we don't want them on the course? You know, because I think that's where the problems come in, is if they just couldn't, you know, keep up the pace of play or whatever, you know. So I think that was my good caddy moment for the week. And I think there's a little bit of a redemptive story in there, in that, you know, even as you're in the abyss or whatever, there were shots that got kind of pulled out there. You know, we actually, on the 13th hole, which is a par 3, the person who was really struggling and missing the ball a ton, topping everyone, somehow then hits it onto the green. And you might as well just have, like, had a ticker tape parade. Because, you know, there you have it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, do I want every loop to be like that? No. But are there some? And you learn lessons through them as well. Before I get to a bad caddy moment, what about you, Nick? What did you have this week for good caddy, bad caddy?
For a good caddy, I had a foursome. 3 guys knew each other, 1 guy didn't, which can kind of create like an awkward dynamic for us. But I think I did a pretty good job of taking the one under my wing and kind of like getting him to mesh with the other 3. It can be kind of a tough situation because all 3 of those guys all know each other. And the one sometimes doesn't exactly click with the rest of the guys. So I think that was probably my good caddy moment. I think I did a pretty good job at that. Bad caddy, I would say, this one's interesting. So you ever have like a match between guys and they, like, you really like one guy and you really don't like the other one? I had a hard time.
For our listeners out there, we like you both, but
yes,
you know,
yes.
Human nature is we like you know, we gravitate personality wise to what. No, of course, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So yeah, I had a hard time kind of like rooting for the one that I really didn't like very much, and maybe rooting more for. But like, I feel like I did a pretty good job of providing an adequate amount of information for both players. You know, and I wasn't like, you know, like trying to actively trying for one guy to win. You know.
Yeah. Right. My bad caddy moment. I don't know why it's little things that kind of like, I don't resonate well sometimes with the golf stuff where it's like, people major in things that I wouldn't. Okay. Because I shouldn't say major in the minors because it's important to them, but like, you're right. I met a group the other day and they're asking about a particular hole, why it's like built a certain way and kind of griping about it.
Architecture kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then is asking me, you know, if both putting greens, practice greens are rolling the same speed or whatever. And I guess that, and then another person walked up and just, you know, they wanted to sound maybe cool, but they're like, what are the greens simping at, you know? And, I find that like I'm an affable guy, but I find for some reason that stuff makes me standoffish, you know, like there's a part of me that wants to say, man, it doesn't matter if they're both rolling the same because you're going to roll it 87 different ways. And I mean, it's like, why. I don't know why. I don't know why somebody coming up and saying, what are the greens simping at? Makes me want to have them miss like 30 putts or something. I don't know. And so I've got to correct my attitude about what are, basically harmless questions.
Oh man. Yeah. That is a weird way to say that. I've never heard it say like stimping. Like that's
what
really
are they
weird,
simping at?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it whatever. And it's like,
just for future reference, just say 10.5. That's always what I say.
Yeah, right. So, I think that's what all the caddies. I mean, it's hard to actually know the exact number for crying out loud.
I'm not out there rolling balls, so yeah.
Yeah. And then people, when people ask you if they're fast or whatever, I'm like, I don't know what you consider fast.
That's a relative
let's just
question for sure. Yeah.
But I think what that tells me is there's no doubt my heart is inclined to like groups like I had today, where they just are appreciating being out on the course. Mm-hmm. They want to hit good shots, but they don't care what their score is. They appreciate that they've been afforded the opportunity to be there. Mm-hmm. I find that is who I resonate with best as a caddy than a person who's analyzing everything so deeply that they're missing maybe the bigger picture. Okay. And that doesn't mean I don't like those people or don't caddy well for them if I have them. I just find that I really, really enjoy what I had today. And so I was grateful for that, for sure. But yeah, we're human. We have our moments. As positive as we try to be, somebody comes up and asks a question the wrong way. All of a sudden we're like, and you got to correct your mindset. And you know what? The loops were just fine. If we're really sticking with the theme of, that's one thing I've learned this year already a few times. It's like, guys will draw conclusions about their loop, at the bag drop. And we've talked on the podcast before about the things people are sizing up and stuff.
Yeah.
Been wrong a few times,
it's not a perfect science. That's for sure.
No. And it's like, just go out there and try to like the people and try to have a good time. Most time that's how it's going to work out. So, but hey, if you're listening out there, we hope that one of the things we can bring to the table is what this show Stick is presumably going to bring to the table. And that is a reminder that golf is beautiful. Golf is this sport where there's some low lows, but there's some high highs. And is there really a better metaphor for life? And also like golf is a great equalizer. It does all these things for us that are healthy. Because I've caddied, one of the guys I caddied for today, I think is a pretty big deal in his company, a large company. And I think is extremely successful. And I think golf brings him down to a point where he says, I'm not going to take myself too seriously. It serves a healthy purpose. And so it's a beautiful game. And those low lows keep us humble. They keep us reminding, of our need to continue to improve. But then that one that keeps you coming back. Oh, it's great. So, hey, folks, remember that. And let's talk about Stick after it comes out on June 4th. See if it's a good show or not. I think it's at least a good message. Mm-hmm. And let's see if it's a good show. So, I guess this serves as a great time to give you the reminder that we hope does stick with you, is that no matter how bad it seems, no matter how deep the bunker, no matter how great the shanks, there is indeed on this side of the ground always a next shot full of hope and opportunity. So take yours.